أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما.
Okay, Bismillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbana zidna ilma. Okay, so today we are going to do 3 surahs. We'll start with Surah Ahzab. The ayah that Ahmad recited was from Surah Ahzab. Okay, we'll briefly talk about that ayah when we get to that portion. And then after Surah Ahzab, we will do Surah Saba and then Surah Fatir. Okay, 3 surahs. Okay, Surah Ahzab, it's a Madani surah. It was revealed in Medina when Rasulullah was in Medina in the 5th year of Hijrah. Yes, in the 5th year after the Hijrah. Okay, and Surah Ahzab has the mention and stories and details of a lot of battles, were things that happened between the Muslims and the Mushrikeen, or the Muslims and the hypocrites, or Muslims and Jews. Okay, it's something that you have to learn in depth maybe when you're older. Okay, Asma, or inshallah we can listen to the Seerah to learn that part. Okay, but basically there's one thing that I can mention about it is it was always all the 3 situations were the Muslims had to retaliate because the treaty was broken. Okay, especially when it came to the hypocrites and the Jews. Okay, there was a treaty that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made with the people of Medina and the Jewish tribes when the Muslims migrated to Medina, and those were broken. Okay, like one of the conditions, one of the clauses in the treaty was how the Muslims and the other communities, how they would work together to protect Medina. But when the Jews, okay, started siding with the Mushrikeen, the enemy of the Muslims, that's when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam finally was forced to retaliate.
Because they broke the treaty.
They broke the treaty, and they were causing harm to the Muslims. Okay, the first battle though that is mentioned is the Battle of Trench. Okay, we can just mention that because you guys are all aware of it too. It's the battle. Do you remember what the Battle of Trench is?
So there was a Sahaba Salman al-Farisi, and so there was going to be a battle, and so he said he gave the idea of digging a trench and putting spikes up from there so that when the horsemen come riding, they will have to stop.
Yeah, because what happened was the Muslims were not prepared or equipped enough to face a huge army that was coming from Mecca. So Salman al-Farisi, as was the practice, and he had seen that happen from where he came from Persia, he suggested the idea of digging a trench, digging a huge trench, a hole in the ground, like a hole for kilometers, for miles. Okay, that way when the enemy came, they couldn't come to attack the Muslims. Okay,
so they built around the city of Medina, like on one side of it, so that they can't come. So there's just a big hole. Okay, they're just gonna come and they can't come.
Yeah, and then the Quraysh still came and they saw this and they were amazed and they were like, now what can we do? And they were still waiting and camping over there. That's when, and that is what is mentioned in the surah, that is when Allah sends His help in the form of a violent storm that kind of hits only the side of the mushrikeen. Okay, nothing will happen to where the Muslims are, and that kind of marks the end of the battle.
Person who died, right? And his doing the door.
Was that Ahzab?
The Battle of Trench.
Was it from Battle of Trench? Okay. So that is one thing that is being mentioned in this. Now another thing, some cool facts, okay, that I'm going to mention. I mean, cool fact. I don't know how many I'm going to mention, but let's see. Okay. The first one I want to say is about how pre-Islam, or even these days, when you adopt somebody, the adopted child takes the name of the father, the family, right? But in Islam, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah,
okay.
But you can still adopt, right?
You can adopt. Yeah, you can adopt, but you still have to keep the last name of the original father, the biological father.
Foster.
Yeah, you can become foster, but you have to keep the name as is.
First
okay?
name also you can change.
Yeah, you can change, but I'm talking about the family name. Okay. So, for example, if we were to adopt somebody, we cannot name that child Arwa Bafiqi or Ali Bafiqi or whatever. Okay. That child will continue to have that child's last name. If the child doesn't know the last name, even Quran gives a solution. If they don't know the last name, you still cannot give the last name. You can just call them brothers in faith. Okay.
Wait,
so, for example, one example during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was pre-Islam. A Sahabi by the name Hudayfa bin Yamama had an adopted son. Okay, his name was Salim. Okay, you guys know this story. So Salim, I think you will understand when you hear it. We have seen those characters in Umar series also, and then in the end they'll die together and they'll become shaheed together also.
Yeah.
So Hudayfa will have an adopted son, kind of like a Mawla, like freed slave and master relationship they had. So because he became Muslim, what will happen is they will become, he doesn't want to treat Salim like a slave, so he announces to the people that he is my son, so nobody treat him back. Okay. And Salim, by the way, radiallahu anh, was a very good teacher of the Quran. So Salim, radiallahu anh, then Allah actually reveals an ayah, like Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually says that no, you cannot actually say that he has your last name. He will remain Salim. Like you cannot give him your last name and all that. Okay. Now, what I wanted to say is, okay, who are the mothers of the believers?
The wives of the Prophet.
The wives of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, they are known as sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are known as Ummahatul Mu'mineen, and that's what Allah is saying in the surah. النبي أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم وأزواجه أمهاتهم. See, Allah is the one who gave them that title, mothers of the believers. It means the Prophet is closer to the believers than their own selves, and his wives are as their mothers. And that's why, alhamdulillah, that's why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wives are the mothers of the believers, our mothers. They, after the death of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also, they would not remarry ever after again because they're mothers. How can anybody marry mothers?
And like, what?
Okay.
Yeah. How about
another thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in this surah is about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, that how he is the best model for us. Okay. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Okay, you have indeed in the life of Allah's Rasul the best model. He's the best model. Uswatun hasana. He's the best model for him whose hope is in Allah. So he is the best model for the one who hopes in Allah and believes in the Day of Judgment and remembers Allah a lot. For such a person, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the best model to copy. Okay, so are we believers? Yes. Do we remember Allah a lot? Yes. Do we have hope in Allah? Yes. Then our best model is Rasulullah, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Good. Okay. Then comes the ayah that Ahmed read. The ayah that Ahmed read, it talks about how the meaning is surely the Muslim men and the Muslim women, the believing men and the believing women, the devout men and the devout women, the truthful men and the truthful women, the patient men and the patient women, the humble men and the humble women, the charitable men and the charitable women. Okay, and the one who remembers Allah from men, the one that remembers of all the female rememberers of Allah. Okay, all these people are being mentioned, and then Allah says that for all of them, Allah has prepared forgiveness and a great reward. Okay, so the reason this ayah is being revealed is Salama radiallahu anha, one of the mothers of the believers, one of the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will ask, how come in the Quran everything is in like he, right, masculine gender? Yeah.
So Allah will send an ayah.
Yeah, this is that ayah. Salama radiallahu anha. She will ask this ayah, how come it is like that? So Allah is saying that in the sight of Allah, the Muslim men and the Muslim women, like man and woman, all of these people, for like the Jannah is for everybody. Allah's forgiveness is for everybody. Connection with Allah is for everybody. Allah is accessible to men and women alike. Like you don't have to think that Allah does not see a distinguish. Allah does not distinguish between a man and a woman in matters of taqwa and closeness to Him, worshipping Him, our ibadah.
So
and all
she
those
asked
things.
why in the Quran it's always
No, why? Yeah, because it's the gender that is used. The generic gender is masculine, right? Okay. Now, as a continuation of two things that I already mentioned, one is about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We mentioned how sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One thing is he's the best model. The other thing that I mentioned from the surah is about the adopted son and the father, their relationship. Okay, that you cannot take the name of the adopted son cannot take the name of the adopted father, right? Okay, the adopted son cannot take the name of the adopted father, right? The family name. So keeping both of these two in mind, okay, there is one ayah that mentions about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam again. It says, Muhammad is not the father of any of your men, meaning he's not going to leave any male heirs, like he's not going to leave any heirs to take over his name, okay? But he is the Rasul of Allah and he's the seal of the prophets. He's Khatam al-Anbiya, okay? So the reason that we need to understand this ayah so well is, okay, first of all, this was revealed in regarding who was Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's adopted son? Zayd ibn Harith, yeah. And Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved him so much, just like his own son. Okay, his own Amar, don't do that. His own sons, okay, he had 3 sons. Did any of them live to grow up and become adults? No, they all died as infants. Okay, so Zayd ibn Harith was his kind of like his son, and he loved him so much. But Allah is telling that Zayd radiallahu anh will never become his own son. Okay, that is one thing. So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not leaving any heirs. The second thing is, if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left any heirs, like any sons after him, it only befits that such a person also becomes a prophet, right?
Yeah.
The son of
Like
a prophet
most
becomes
prophets, if they have
a lot
son,
of, yeah.
they
Like Yaqub alayhi salam, Yusuf alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ishaq and Ismail. I mean, there were prophets whose sons must have not been prophets, but Allah wanted to kind of seal that. Imagine if a son of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were alive, then everybody will treat him like kind of like a prophet after his time, right?
Isa alayhi salam didn't have a son.
Yeah, Isa alayhi salam did, yeah. So Allah wanted to end it over there. Okay. So that's why this ayah is very important to keep in mind. Muhammad is not the father of any of your men, and he's not going to leave any male heirs, that's what it means. but he's the Rasul of Allah and he's the seal of the prophets. When you seal something, that means it's closed.
Yeah, you can't. You can no longer edit it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so those are what I wanted to cover from Surah Al-Ahzab. Okay, the next surah that we are going to do is Surah Saba. Okay, do you guys remember? Have you heard the name Saba before?
Yes, it's a day, right? It's Yom.
No, that is Yom Sab.
The Jews have like
Oh, the Sabbath? No. Anyone remember?
I feel like once you tell me,
In the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam. Saba. Remember the queen of Sheba?
Oh yeah.
Sheba is Saba.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I knew that once you say it.
Yeah. Okay. Surah Saba and Surah Fatir, both of them are Makki surahs. They were revealed in Mecca. Makki surahs, what are the main themes in the Makki surahs all the time?
Tawheed.
Tawheed.
And like
Tawheed and
the
oneness of Islam, oneness of Allah, which is Tawheed, and the day of the resurrection. Next surah that we are going to do is Surah Saba. Surah Saba and the one after that also, which we are going to do, we are going to cover Surah Al-Fatir. They both are Makki surahs. What are the characteristics of Makki surahs? Yeah.
5 pillars of Islam.
No.
Tawheed.
And the hereafter.
And the hereafter.
So they kind of also have like the 6 pillars of Iman, right?
Yeah.
They talk about the hereafter, Allah's destiny, Tawheed, angels, prophets.
The faith, matters of faith. Yeah, the 6 articles of faith is also mentioned because the Quraysh had misconceptions about angels. A lot of that is being cleared. Then prophet stories are being mentioned, so that is believe in prophets. Then everything happens by the will of Allah is being mentioned, so that is Qadr,
The books, the Quran.
hereafter, the books, yes. And all those are being mentioned in Surah Saba. Okay, I mean in Makki surahs in general. Okay, so this surah also one of the main themes of the surah is how the day of judgment is for sure to come, and how the people who do not follow the messengers and obey the messengers and the true message of the Quran, how they will there's a consequence for that. Okay, and then Allah is mentioning the story of Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman alayhi salam in the surah. Okay, I'm just going to read the meaning, and I felt this is very beautiful. Okay, this is like not common knowledge when you talk about the prophets. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا دَاوُودَ مِنَّا فَضْلًا. Okay, so we bestowed our blessings upon Dawood alayhi salam and commanded, O mountains, join him in glorifying my praise. So Dawood alayhi salam, which scripture did he receive from Allah? Yeah, the Zabur. Very good. So, okay, so when Allah is mentioning how the prophets, those who don't listen to the prophets, there will be a consequence to bear. That's when Allah is talking about what Allah blessed Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman alayhi salam with. And Allah is mentioning them as examples and saying that those who do not, basically follow prophets like Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman alayhi salam, what will happen to them. Okay, and that is also being mentioned after this. So Allah starts by saying, we bestowed our blessings on Dawood alayhi salam and commanded, O mountains, join him in glorifying my praise. And a similar command was given to the birds, like to join Dawood alayhi salam in praising Allah. So Dawood alayhi salam, what scripture was given to Dawood alayhi salam?
It was Zabur.
The Zabur. The Zabur was full of praises for Allah. It was like songs of praise, glorifying Allah, that kind of scripture. Okay. Taurat was commandments.
But they're like poetic. That's why the Jews call it
the 10 Commandments. The Injil was story and guidance and all that. So, Quran is all of these things. That is what is special about the Quran. There's a hadith that talks about how Quran has that aspect of Tawrat where it has the commandments, then the aspect of Injil, the stories and the Gospels, and then it has the glorifying Allah aspect that the Zabur had, praising, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, all those things.
So when you were saying the characteristics of everything, I was like, wait, so which one is the Quran? So I thought like everything had maybe a little bit of other things too,
Yeah.
but it was just that, right? Like it didn't have that much of
Mostly, okay? And then the Quran is all these three, and then it has an extra part to it too. There's a hadith that actually talks about this, okay?
What is that?
So we'll do that another time, okay? And so Allah is telling how, O mountains, join in praise. So Dawud alayhi salam is the prophet with whom the birds would also join him in praising Allah.
So they would pray it like.
Yeah. And then another, can you imagine Dawud alayhi salam, the Prophet Dawud alayhi salam would have been singing praises to Allah, and it's like kind of reciting Quran, and then the birds just joining him. Okay, that's how that was something that Dawud alayhi salam.
They were talking in Arabic.
No, they
I don't know.
probably.
And then another ability Allah gave Dawud alayhi salam was he could make the iron soft, and with that iron he could actually make coats of armor. You know, what you wear for
He was a
protection for battle and all that. Ironsmith, blacksmith, yeah. And then after that, it mentions Sulaiman alayhi salam. Okay, Sulaiman alayhi salam, of course, he had the superlative of what Dawud alayhi salam was given. Like the birds would sing with Dawud alayhi salam. For Sulaiman alayhi salam, he could understand the birds itself. Okay, he could converse with the birds itself. Okay, so he was given more of that. Okay, and then after that, it also mentions how Sulaiman alayhi salam's death was. Have you guys heard of this?
Oh yeah. No.
When Sulaiman alayhi salam died, he actually died leaning on his staff. And then the jinn didn't know that he passed away. Okay, so this was like a sign for the jinn that, even though jinn are unseen to us, that doesn't mean the jinn know everything that is unseen. Even though Sulaiman alayhi salam passed away, they didn't know he passed away until the termites came and started eating up the staff that he was leaning on when he passed away. And once that was eaten, he just basically fell down. That's when the jinn came to know that Sulaiman alayhi salam.
Yeah, like some there was that I heard, and it was like about the jinn and how they the more you are scared of them or you think about like you can feel scared of the jinn, right? Especially
because they are
jinn,
not
the more
seen.
Powerful they become. But if you
we don't have to be
praise
scared.
Allah and stuff, and you think very little about them, then they can't.
They're scared of you.
Yeah.
And another thing is
his time for death, his time in this world was over, so Allah caused him to die. Allah
and
took
another
his
thing
life.
is
Okay. So now what?
So like usually the bad jinn are the jinn that come to us to make us do bad things, but for Sulaiman alayhi salam, and the good jinn stay away from humans.
Yeah.
But for Sulaiman alayhi salam, they're part of his army.
Yeah, they were part of his army. Yeah, very good. And then after the mention of Sulaiman alayhi salam and Dawud alayhi salam, Allah is mentioning the people of Saba. That's why the surah has the name Saba. How they had everything. You know how like when Bilqis came with her people and they all became Muslim and they all lived in the kingdom of Sulaiman alayhi salam. They had everything. Okay, but then after a period of time, what always happens is they start forgetting the ways that the Prophet taught them once the Prophet is gone, and so then they started paying no heed and they started going in the wrong path.
Even like
It doesn't mention that specifically. Okay, so but the people, okay, their people started forgetting about Allah. Okay, okay, and then so how does Allah test them? Allah converts. They had like 2 beautiful gardens that used to give every fruit in the world, very beautiful gardens. That garden started producing bitter fruit, and it just became dried up land, and everything vegetation that would grow would all be like thorny bushes and that kind of a thing. Okay, and Allah is mentioning that as an example for us to be grateful for our blessings and to always remember that everything is from Allah. Okay, so Allah is mentioning all these stories and then reminding the mushrikeen that this is what can happen. Okay, that is the essence of it. Okay. Now, when the disbelievers will say, but still the disbelievers will keep saying that no, we won't believe, and they'll make fun and all those things. And Allah reminds them that whatever you have, the wealth and children, everything that you have in this world, it should actually be, that's not what will actually take you closer to Allah. What takes you closer to Allah is doing good deeds and doing charity and believing in Allah. When Allah mentions, whatever you give in charity, He will pay you back. Okay, so charity will never decrease your wealth. You will never become bankrupt or become poor because of how much charity you give. The more charity you give, Allah keeps increasing your wealth. And even if you don't see it in this world, Allah has multiplied it for you in the hereafter. But you will definitely see the barakah even in this world. Okay, like Baba, like you can say that, right? Whenever we have done charity, we see the blessing of it in our lives. The next surah that we are doing is Surah Fatir. Okay, Surah Al-Fatir is also, like I mentioned before, it is a Makki surah. Okay, and just like the Makki surah, it's, you know, Tawheed and all those reminders are there. And then few ayahs that I just want to pick out from this surah is, one is Allah says, أَفَمَنْ زُيِّنَ لَهُ سُوءُ عَمَلِهِ فَرَآهُ حَسَنًا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُضِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ فَلَا تَذْهَبْ نَفْسَكَ عَلَيْهِمْ حَسَرَاتٍ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ بِمَا يَصْنَعُونَ. What that means is, and this is a very good reminder for all of us, the person who does evil deeds sometimes will think that they are doing something good, right? So this is this is a ayah for that person. Can that person whose evil deeds are so fair seeming to him that he considers them good to be like the one who's rightly guided? Sometimes we are doing something really wrong, but in our head we are thinking that what we are doing is a good deed and kind of feeling big about it and feeling proud about it.
No, it actually might be doing a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
if you're interfering in another person's business,
That's not a good
that
thing.
You're ending the fight.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that is one ayah that I wanted to mention as a reminder for all of us, for me and you guys, that sometimes when you're doing something and, you know, somebody points it out to you, and then you're like, no, I'm doing the right thing. Like, we should not feel proud. Maybe if we reflect upon it, maybe what we're doing is a wrong thing. Okay. So we have to always be like grounded, like be humble. The other ayah that I wanted to mention was, Man kana, this is my favorite ayah actually from the surah, okay? The ayah says, that's why I was telling Ammar about the name Al-Mu'izz. Do you know what Al-Mu'izz means? Al-Mu'izz means the one who honors, okay? Allah honors with the gift of guidance those who believe and do good deeds. And as a result of that, Allah gives you honor.
Al-Mu'izz, you can even think about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
He was Al-Mu'izz.
He was honored by Allah.
He was honored by Allah. Very good. And Al-Mu'izz means the one who is honored, the one with all the honor. It's from the word Izza. Izza means to have honor and dignity. You have heard that word, right? So the ayah says, if anyone is seeking honor, let him know that all honor belongs to Allah alone. Okay? And all the good deeds, all good words are sent to him, and good deeds are exalted by him. Okay, so honor comes only from Allah. So sometimes if in your life, if you feel, oh, you're honored, remember that if Allah wills, He can take it away. Okay, and sometimes if, it's just the opposite also can happen. Okay, sometimes you're put in a bad situation where you feel humiliated or whatever. Just think that, you know what, this is from people. The humiliation you are suffering might be from people. You just want to be honored in the sight of Allah. And then Allah is Al-Mu'izz. And you can use that name of Allah to make dua to Him. Ya Mu'izz, grant me dignity. Okay?
Or make
Before we end the surah, I wanted to, when I was reading through the meaning, there were two ayahs that caught my attention because it has scientific things mentioned in it. Like one is actually, scientific or geological or whatever, okay? The one of them is how Allah is mentioning two types of water, two bodies of water, fresh water and salt water.
I've
Okay.
heard about that in science.
You have heard about that in
Science of
Yeah, the two bodies of water, and Allah is describing them also, of which one is sweet and pleasant to drink. Okay, the fresh water is pleasant to drink and sweet, and the other one is salty and bitter. And Allah is telling how those two are not alike. Okay, and then Allah is telling from each what kind of benefit we get also. Like from the sweet water, you eat fresh meat. Okay, and Allah is mentioning how we get fresh oil, the ornaments, pearl, and all those things, and how
From salt water.
And how through the salt water the ships go. Okay, so how two different kinds of benefit from the two different bodies of water. Yes.
Is this a parable?
Yeah, this is actually a parable. Okay, so but I'm not going into detail of that. I'm just mentioning it as two blessings. Okay, how two different bodies of water. Good question. The other one that Allah is mentioning, this one also was very interesting for me, is Allah is mentioning sedimentary rocks. Okay, Allah says over here, do you not see that Allah sends down rain from the sky with which we bring forth fruits of various colors? So he mentioned fruit of various colors that are coming because of the rain, right? The trees grow in different fruits. Similarly, in the mountains, there are streaks of various shades, including white, red, jet black rocks. You know how sedimentary rock has different colors?
Sedimentary
So
rock,
the
how I
colors are
remember it
mentioned
is,
in the ayah.
they have
Yeah,
different layers, how I remember saying
The different colors, and not necessarily just sedimentary rocks. In general, rocks itself have different colors. Igneous rocks, different kinds of
Yellow,
lava, and
orange,
yeah.
black.
Yeah, all these are colors that you see on rocks, right? You are asking, right, if Allah is actually mentioning the colors. Yes, I'll read it to you. أَلَمْ تَرَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ أَنزَلَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً. That is talking about the rain coming down. فَأَخْرَجْنَا بِهِ ثَمَرَاتٍ مُخْتَلِفَةٍ أَلْوَانُهَا, different colored fruits. And then Allah is mentioning وَمِنَ الْجِبَالِ, and from the mountains, جُدَدٌ بِيضٌ, white, وحمر red, مختلف ألوانها, وغرابيب السود. غرابيب السود means aswad, yes. Okay, so the different colors
That's
are
so cool.
mentioned. Yeah. Okay, so that's
Aswad
how
is yellow,
No.
black,
aswad is black.
black.
Okay. So we'll end over here. From tomorrow onwards, when we do juz, we'll be covering more and more surahs, because now the surahs are becoming shorter. Okay. لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.